Welcome to everyone joining the webinar, the Uplink, I should say. My name is Mark Phillips. I am the VP of Business Development at Helium. For those of you who haven't had a chance to meet me, thank you all for joining, both new attendees and people who have joined us in the past. We will be recording this, so if you missed something or didn't get a chance to take notes or don't get a chance to ask questions, do not fret. It will be up on YouTube and you'll be able to watch it and watch it with all your friends and family. So we will, let's say, run through the agenda today, and then we'll sort of really get into it here. So we've got Brian from Parley Labs and Mark from VLINK. I'm gonna let them, from Victor. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves after I'm done with the Helium spiel here. We'll talk about Victor and Parley Labs, and then we're gonna talk about the service that Parley has built on top of the Victor product. And then we'll do a Q&A. If people have questions throughout, you can drop them in the chat box. We tend to try to get to them during the conversation if it doesn't disrupt the flow too much. But worst comes to worst, we'll do 5 to 10 minutes at the end of this whole thing. We'll probably run about 35, maybe 40 minutes. We can run a little bit longer if people want to stick around and ask questions. Yeah, so let's get going. So for those of you who are new to Helium, and hopefully, quite frankly, most of you are new to Helium, we were founded in 2013 with this mission to make it easier to build decentralized wireless networks. And so over the last, I guess it's been 8 years at this point, we've raised upwards of 53 million to date from investors like Google Ventures, which is GV, Coastal Ventures, FirstMark Capital, and then most recently Multicoin and Union Square Ventures in May of 2019. And that's really when we started this huge shift to deploying what is right now, and what will continue to be the largest LoRaWAN network in the United States, and quite frankly, probably the world at this point. So in a second, I'm going to switch over to the Helium Explorer, just explorer.helium.com, which is the main sort of public-facing chunk of data for all of the blockchain in the entire Helium network. But if you look at how the Helium network has grown since roughly October of 2019 to date, we've built what is the largest public IoT network in the United States. We've got us and our community, primarily the community, are operating over 26,000 of what we call hotspots. So in this, a hotspot is a LoRaWAN gateway that provides long-range coverage, and also happens to mine HNT as an incentive mechanism. And so that incentive mechanism has put us in 3,600 cities across 66 countries. And based on the backlog, which is about 6x the size of the current network coverage, we should see the network continue to grow in a massive way. That city number is going to skyrocket. The country number will continue to skyrocket. And so today we'll talk about this a bunch with Mark from Victor, but companies like Victor, who are enterprise grade companies building things, going into big buildings to be parts of people's businesses, are choosing the Helium network because it is the largest network out there for deploying a LoRaWAN application. It's only going to get bigger. In addition to that, we've got a diverse ecosystem of hundreds of hardware and software partners, major companies that you've heard of that are building hotspots for the network, that are building sensors, that are building end user interfaces for building these applications. When it comes to devices, we're looking at sub $1 a year per sensor on the network. The economics of the Victor Trap, for example, are even more favorable than that. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the discussion. And then certainly I would not lump the Victor VLINK traps into the, well, I take it back. It is an off-the-shelf LoRaWAN sensor in that you can buy it from someone like Victor or Parley, and then just deploy it on the Helium network. This one is entirely custom and extremely specialized, as you'll see. But the key here is that any LoRaWAN sensor can be deployed to the Helium network. So when it comes to deploying coverage in the ecosystem, we have a growing massive ecosystem of specifically just hardware manufacturers. So the community has a process called HIP-19, which stands for the Helium Improvement Proposal 19. And this is a mechanism for people and companies to propose to the community that they want to start manufacturing Helium blockchain compatible hardware. Again, this is called a hotspot. And then once approved, they can start manufacturing and then distributing to the community. So Helium was the first, and we had this beautiful sort of white box here. The second was Rack, which is the small rack miner here. And then after that, we've added Nebro, we've added Bobcat, we've added Syncrobit. And then I think there's 5 or 6 additional HIP-19 manufacturers in the queue. So all that momentum leads us to some of this data here. So hopefully people are seeing explorer.helium.com. This is going to be the primary location for you to sort of ingest and learn more about the public data inside of the network. In addition to Discord, so discord.gg/Helium, this is going to be the place where you can come to learn the most about the network in the shortest amount of time. So we can take a look at the hotspots here. Hotspot space is pretty fascinating, and there's some hidden gems on here. So we give you raw numbers, 26,540 hotspots. We've got a hotspots online number, which is 83% yield is pretty good, and that's coming up. We've had 100 hotspots in the last hour. We've added 4,500 in the last 30 days, which is pretty remarkable. And I guess my city number was out of date. So we're at 3,700 cities. We have a full map here, which you can dig into, and I would encourage you to do so. We actually just added this really, really interesting sort of leaderboard for cities. So, primarily these are in the United States, but you can see actually based on the momentum in Europe, we've got London, which is creeping up on the list here. We've got places like Berlin, we've got Toronto, which is obviously North America. We have, I'm trying to see here, what else? We've got our first city in China, which is pretty remarkable because we only started shipping there, or rather Bobcat only started shipping there, I think, 3 weeks ago. And so they're already up to 135 hotspots and number 23 on the world ranking. So I would encourage people to check out the hotspots page. And then down here, we show all sorts of stats for the network. So what the block times are for the blockchain, what the election times are. Block times are a little high. We'll get those under control. The token price as dictated by exchanges, and then all sorts of other good stuff. So if you're new to Helium and you don't know too much about the network and sort of want to dig into the data, I would recommend explore.helium.com in addition to Discord. So with that, I'm going to quit the Helium overview. Mark, are you ready for me to hand it over?
Yeah, ready to go.
All right, jump in there. I just killed my share. There it is.
All right.
Looking good.
Should be up and running. Coming through loud and clear. Everybody good?
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. Now we get into the fun part of the presentation today.
You know what I just started to derail you as you begin this. I literally just noticed that in the Victor logo there's a mouse here. I had no idea. Fantastic. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Look at the one on the screen, not the one on my background, because the ears have changed. So fun fact. But anyway, so hi everybody. My name is Mark Ebner, and I am the account manager for Victor VLINK. So I'm sure most of you guys have seen and heard of our brand Victor before. So we make mousetraps, and so what I'm here to talk to you about today is kind of the newest and greatest generation of mousetraps that are available. So before I get going here, I want to give you a little bit of overview of kind of who we are. So our company's name is actually Woodstream, and you've probably used a lot of our stuff and you probably don't even know it, including Victor snap traps. But we've been around for a long time, over 171 years. We have employees worldwide. We have US-based manufacturing sites and distribution centers. And our company portfolio boasts well over 1,200 products. And we have a full line of in-house design and capabilities, engineering. We have it all and we can do it all. So our family of brands here at Woodstream, you've probably seen some of these. Victor Taro, which is a liquid ant bait. So if you've ever had ants, you've most likely used our liquid bait products. And we sell we've sold over 1 billion of our Victor regular wooden snap traps globally. And our Taro ant bait sells a lot. And we also have all sorts of products as well, other than pest control products. We make some of the best mosquito traps on the market too. If you've ever heard of Dynatrap or Mosquito Magnet, or if you use your backyard, now that we're getting into summertime, it's a perfect solution. And then we also have several other different brands, but I'm here to talk about the most important one, and that is Victor. And just a little fun fact about Victor and Woodstream. So we've been making mousetraps for a long time, well over 120 years. And we were actually the originators and the inventors of the original spring-based mousetrap all the way back in 1898. And ever since then, we have had a very strong commitment and belief in continually improving, learning about our product, and keep pushing things forward. And so we've had an interesting timeline. We're always making and exploring new devices. Some of these devices might look a little new to you guys. I'm used to talking to a lot of professional pest control operators, and that's some of my background as well. But I can talk a lot about traps, but I want to talk about the most important one here. And so we actually got into, right around 2004, we actually got into the sector of electronic mouse and rat traps. And so we launched our first product line in about 2004. And since we've been making electronic traps, that's really opened up a lot of other potentials for us. And there's a big buzz in the pest control industry today. And what that's called is electronic rodent monitoring. So it's essentially taking a rodent trap and using the connectivities that we enjoy today and incorporating it into rodent devices. So we kind of first got into the game around 2015, and we kind of soft launched an initial trial, and we realized that there's better connectivity options, and we also realized that we can build a better trap, and that's exactly what we set out to do. And that brings us to today, where I have lots of VLINK tunnel traps in stock and ready to go right through Parley. So, and really, this is a probably completely new section to you guys about rodent control. But I just want to share with you what is VLINK? What are we trying to do? We are trying to make what would be truly the first proactive rodent control solution. So not only as soon as a rodent enters your facility, it's going to get eliminated and captured by the trap. And what that is going to trigger is immediate notification directly to you. So everybody wants to know, and rodents, populations can increase and decrease. And once a rodent infestation establishes at a facility, the population can spike very, very quickly and cause lots of dollars, and we're talking millions of dollars in damages and recalls. And so a truly proactive system is super, super important in today's world. And what VLINK offers that, frankly, no other trap on the market does, is one of the most high-tech rodent traps that's available today. So it's used by professionals in our industry. It's rugged. It's built for a commercial usage as well as residential usage. It's built like a tank, and with the ability of the IoT networks, it is sending instant alert. And since we're actually using electronics too, we actually have a fun catch detection built directly into the trap. So when you do get an alert that says, hey, you have a rodent at your facility, you know for a fact that there's actually going to be a rodent in the trap waiting for it. And our VLINK platform boasts a full application of, we have a website, we have mobile apps for both iOS and Android. And so you can take everything on the go and be in touch with your site and with your house or wherever you have the traps deployed 24/7, 365. And you can be able to see where the rodent activity is, because it's all very important data in terms of controlling rodents. So we got to talk about one of my favorite things in the world here, and that's the VLINK Tunnel Trap. Now, we've come a long, long way since the original spring-based Mousetrap here. And that brings us to the VLINK Tunnel Trap. This is completely different than any other trap that you've seen on the market. It actually has a complete run-through, a see-through tunnel, which part of our in-house capabilities with Victor and Woodstream is that it's designed by people who know rodents the best. So we have people in the lab that are actually building the trap around the rodent. So we designed it to mimic the natural movements and the behaviors of rodents. So it makes it more attractive to encourage rodent interactions with the trap. And using an electronic method of elimination, it's actually one of the most humane mouse traps on the market today. So it is very effective, and especially we do have an EU SKU on 868, and it is approved in the European area for a humane lethal solution to rats and mice. So that's actually very important. A lot of countries are starting to get rid of a lot of the main ways of rodent control today with snap traps and rodenticides. And so my solution, the VLINK Tunnel Trap, is the perfect niche for that void. Because we put a lot of work and a lot of thought into how this is going to work. We wanted to make sure that it gets high interaction, it's attractive to rodents. Rodents come in, they're going to be eliminated humanely, and then have you receive a notification on the end. And the tunnel trap is built very, very robust. It is built for commercial environments. It's built for both indoor and outdoor usage. Since we have electronics in there, they're also completely IP67 sealed. So feel free to put it out there and let it get rained on. Spray it down with your hose. It's not going to hurt any of the electronics. And we actually have a level of sensing built into the trap that actually helps the trap itself differentiate what has entered. So if there was going to be a flood, I can actually tell if there's actually water in it or a rodent has actually entered. So it's a very, very sophisticated, but yet simple and highly attractive trap for rodents. And I do have it. I have two different sizes. I have a regular mouse unit, which is the V450. And then I also have a rat sized, which is the V460. And it looks exactly the same as you can see here. And it does have a complete run through tunnel. And I know you guys probably don't think about rodent control every day, but I do, and the Victor team does. And so we could take a little spin around here on the tunnel trap. And this thing is built to be the best and offer the best in the rodent control industry today. So with the run through design, there's no other trap on the market that's going to be more enticing to rodents. And when it does enter, we took every measure that we could to make sure that the rodent's going to be eliminated. It's a very, very simple trap, very, very easy to use. There's one button on it, and everything connects right through our app using our mobile phone with the QR code that's installed inside the trap.
Mark, you might be about to get this, but what is the size of the lengthwise of the V450?
The V450 is about, I think it's 11 inches in length.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the rat unit is about 18 inches. So
okay.
they're built
significantly bigger. Yeah.
Yep, they're built exactly the same in terms of the tunnel. There is slight differences because there is a difference between rats and mice that we built into it, and but both the rat unit and the mouse unit are very, very efficacious in bringing rodents in. And there is even a spot actually in the trap itself that you can actually place an attractant to help increase the amount of rodents that you're going to be drawing into the trap. So this thing is built, it's built very, very well. It's enticing to rodents. It's going to bring them in. And like I said, it's a very quick, it's a very humane and efficacious way to eliminate rodents. And everything in the trap is built into kind of different sort of segments. So here you can actually see that there's a tunnel where the rodents actually eliminate. So it makes it very easy to actually, it pops out of the back and you can dump out the rodent. It slides out very easy. There's minimal contact that anybody would have to do, actually handle the rodents. And everything, when you get a rodent alert with the VLINK system, you know that there's going to be a rodent in there, because after we eliminate the rodent, we are verifying and making sure that there is a catch in there, and then sending the message to the end user. And both traps too, both rat and mouse traps are capable of eliminating multiple mice. So right now we say 2 catches, so you can actually eliminate 1 rodent. And since it is an open tunnel design, there's a whole nother side of the tunnel, so another rodent can enter and get eliminated. And then you'll also get another alert for that, letting you know that you have 2 catches in your trap.
Actually, Mark, that's probably a good point to pause for one question from in the chat here. So Leo Town was asking if it's reusable, and the answer is yes, of course. And then there's some math around like the number of times it can be reused, right? I mean, how many kills is it sort of good for in terms of, I guess, battery life?
Yeah. So sorry, I forgot to mention that on my one slide. My Zoom window hid those bullet points for me. But so for our mouse and rat units, for the mouse, the battery life, you're looking at 3 years or 500 activations for the shock sequence. And for the rat unit, you're also looking at 3 years or about 250 activations. And the batteries are completely replaceable. They're right there in the bottom of the electronics as well. So, and batteries are, if you order any VLINK systems through Parley Labs, there is your first batch of batteries is included right there in the box. So, and just want to show you this, there is a spot to put a type of an attractant in there to help further increase your catches and bring them in. So these VLINK tunnel traps are, I mean, they can essentially be used anywhere. And where you actually really find the largest advantage is being able to use them in very hard to reach, inaccessible areas where you need protection from rodents. So in the perfect use case is actually kitchens. So I'm actually down in Central Florida, and we have several places that have VLINK units all spread out throughout their kitchens because it's giving them the benefit of the early detection. They're getting to know right away, and they can get in there at a decent time for them to make sure that they eliminate and remove all of the rodents and get everything cleaned so that there's minimal stoppage of any type of service at the facility. And just as it can be used up in the ceiling, it can be used right down there on the ground because we've built in technology into the trap that enables it to determine what has entered it. So whether it's a rodent or whether somebody's mopping and they spill some water, the trap is not going to go off and send you alerts and then you go and find an empty trap. That's just not how the VLINK tunnel trap works. And it also, with the tunnel design too, it actually keeps the rodent completely contained within the trap. So when you actually do eliminate a rodent, it's not like a typical snap trap or a glue board where any passerby could actually see. The rodent's actually completely contained and actually hidden. So the user is actually the first person to know, and really the only person, because it's a completely hidden, contained, and discrete design. So that's good. It really excels in public places too, because it really doesn't look like a rodent trap either. It can be blended right into the background environment. And we also think that it's a perfect application for areas where it can be both inside and outside. So areas that are looking to get rid of any type of rodenticide or any type of poison bait, and they don't want it. The VLINK tunnel trap is the perfect solution for it. And we have taken plenty of safety measures to make sure that there's no unwanted interactions. So it's completely pet safe. It's almost impossible to really be triggered by anything other than a rodent because of the technology that we built into the trap. So, and then we actually have another trap too that I'd like to talk to you guys about here, because this is going to be, it's another LoRaWAN mousetrap from Victor. So this one's going to be very,
Actually, hey, Mark, sorry, can you go back one slide really quick?
Yeah.
So when you go, so your distribution model is such that Victor is selling through distributors, whether it's Parley or somebody who's more sort of like rodent pest control specific. When they're going in to service a commercial kitchen or an office building or like a commercial real estate operation that's got a lot of outdoor space. So I think you're going to get into this, but how much sort of flexibility and additional deployments does using the Helium network and LoRaWAN sort of afford you when it comes to range versus something like Wi-Fi that you have used in the past for other traps?
Yeah. So what LoRaWAN and really Helium does for us is it makes our traps and our communication from them really available to us kind of worldwide. So the big thing for commercial deployments is I come from a background of professional pest control as well. And so if you think, I have a slide on this a little bit later, but if you think about service time and time used to inspect each and every one of these devices during that service period, when you have a trap that is IoT connected through Helium, not only do you get an instant alert, but when you are on the site and you are servicing it, it reduces your time spent on that site just checking for, you know, an empty rodent trap or a full rodent trap in our case.
Mm-hmm.
It can really cut your service time down by 60%. So it's
Right.
taken, it's really taking all of the guesswork out for the end user.
Yeah, I mean, I can, on a personal note, I've had a few of these traps running for a while, and although no one wants to have mice or rats, it's pretty exciting when you get a notification on your phone about there being a catch. So, yeah, okay, sorry, didn't mean to derail you. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So here we go. Okay. So like I said earlier too, as you know, Victor has continued to grow and keeps moving forward. We continue to design and innovate new stuff. And us at Victor and VLINK, we've definitely seen that the IoT space and companies like Helium offer a huge amount of benefit to everybody. And that is why we came up and we're launching our second device that is available on the VLINK Pest Network, and that is actually a mouse and rat snap trap. So it looks just like a typical mouse trap that you'd see on the market, but it's way smarter than that. So we actually built in actually the kill bar of the trap actually is multifunction. It does what it's meant to do and what it's described as a kill bar, but it's also the antenna for the trap. So we find that it gets equal amount, if not better range than our VLINK tunnel trap. And I think using LoRaWAN, Mark, I think I kind of dodged this when you first asked it, but using LoRaWAN for these devices just opens us up to a huge area of coverage that is very important to rodent control, because we don't want to, the pest control professional will put the traps where he wants to. We can't control where the rodents go to
Right.
drive into the trap. So that's why it's important to have multiple different devices of different sizes and different performances as well.
Can I ask? So I saw a slide deck because we've been working with Victor for some time, and I've just become more and more infatuated with your product over the last 6 to 8 months. And I remember seeing this in a slide deck and realizing that the the kill bar was the antenna. Do you recall if that was a thing that was very obvious for you from the beginning, or did someone in the team, halfway through the design process say, Jesus, we could just use the antenna or the kill bar as the antenna? Do you have any insight into that? Because it just seems like such a ridiculous innovation.
Yeah, it kind of came up when we were doing initial kind of designs of what we wanted. We're getting input from the rodent team. We pulled in our engineering team, and really it's just kind of when those two forces at Woodstream come together, we come up with some pretty amazing stuff. So like the tunnel trap was a fully in-house designed product. This connected snap trap is completely in-house as well. And one of the other cool features of the snap trap that came out of those meetings is actually not only when the trap is actually, when you pull it back, you're actually turning on the trap, and it's reaching out through the Helium network to the VLINK backend to let you know that it's connected. And it sends a status message every day, as well as our VLINK tunnel traps to let you know that it's powered on, the battery life, and the signal strength. But with our snap trap too, if anything happens, so if it gets triggered, it will actually not only tell you that it's triggered, but it takes it that next level, and it actually tells you whether or not there's something captured in it. Because something can happen to a snap trap where it gets bumped and accidentally triggers, and it will report that back to you as a trap that's triggered without a capture in it.
Super cool.
Yeah, and this trap is designed. We have the VLINK tunnel trap, which is perfect for inside outside. This can also be used inside outside, but it should be put in a box to keep it somewhat weatherproof. And we've also changed we've been making rodent traps for well over 120 years. So we know what we're doing in terms of trip forces and clamp forces to make sure that everything is taken care of as quickly and as humanely as possible. So this is just a quick view of our rat trap and our kill bar antenna. It's super easy to do. All the stuff on the VLINK app to set up a VLINK trap is super simple. You're just scanning it in, adding it to your site, and then turning it on, and you're connected with your site 24/7, 365.
And so I'm remembering from the tunnel trap, there was some interesting piece of how you guys program the firmware on the LoRaWAN side to send a heartbeat. I remember thinking it should be every 24 hours, but it's actually every 23 hours, right?
Yep, we actually, it checks in every 23 hours. And the main purpose for that is because this is for commercial deployments. And
Right.
so sometimes with trucks unloading in and out, we wanted to just vary it slightly. But yeah, the check-in every single day, it's letting the user know, hey, this trap at this site on this floor in this room has checked in, and here's the battery strength and the signal strength of the device itself. And so that is true for both not only our VLINK Tunnel Trap, but as well as the connected Snap Trap.
Yeah.
So, and the VLINK Snap Trap, it's perfect for even tighter spaces, higher up, places where rodents are going to travel. That's exactly where this VLINK Snap Trap fits in. Tight spaces, rodents, shadows, lines, and corners, that's where they're going to be. That's why we created in the tunnel trap, and that's why we made an even smaller version of a connected trap to get into even tighter spaces. So, and it can be used inside and outside in bait boxes as well. So, and quick overview. I know I can get a little chatty when I talk about our traps, but how the VLINK system works is you have your traps, your devices, whether it's your connected tunnel traps, whether it's your VLINK snap traps. But what they can do is they connect wirelessly to a Helium hotspot or your Helium network connection, and then all of that data is sent and piped through our cloud, and then is viewable right on our VLINK app, either our website or our mobile apps on both Android or iOS.
And from an architecture perspective, you and Victor, you use AWS for all the data ingestion?
Yes.
Got it. Cool. And we do have, if people haven't seen it, so on the Helium docs, we have a great guide, and maybe we can get a link to this. Ashley or McKenna in the chat. We have a great guide of how to actually, if you want to buy this directly from Parley and not use the Parley provision, which Brian will talk about, you can just deploy it on your own and use data credits and run it through console. And it talks directly to the AWS integration for the VLINK app platform.
Yeah. And so I just want to highlight a little bit of some of the features of our mobile app and website. This is perfect for any type of commercial facility, commercial deployment, as well as even residential, because with the VLINK app, you actually have complete control over the site that you're putting it out at. So you have you can make changes right there when you're out in the field. If it's a commercial setting, you can add multiple buildings to your site. You can add floors. You can add rooms. And one of the greatest features is that you can actually take a picture with your mobile app of a floor plan, and you can actually, when you add traps to your site, you can actually pinpoint the location where that trap is. And all of this stuff is being recorded, and you can actually use the website and run reports that will actually show you the areas at your site that is actually capturing the most rodents. And so that is crucial to actually understanding and controlling rodents at a site. So I got a very strong pest control background, and I tend to ramble about it. So I'm sorry. If anybody needs help, creating an integrated pest management plan for their facility using these devices, I'm your guy.
You must be a treat at cocktail parties.
Yeah. Cool. So, and just I'll wrap it up here. So just to highlight our system a little bit more, rodent control and pest management is all about getting that data, understanding it, and our website makes it super, super simple. So we did everything with just the phrase is simple, reliable control. That's what the VLINK network is all about. And I do want to just share this really quick too. If there's anybody attending today that is a facility manager or has a big commercial space, this is one of the true values of using a connected device for your rodent control, because using traditional pest control devices, they need to be checked, at least every month. And with my device, it's checking in every 23 hours. And you can actually check it from wherever you are, whether you're in Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, you can see what's going on 24/7. And so the amount of time that's saved by just not going around just checking an empty trap, because that's wasting time. So like I said, if anybody's on here that wants to talk about building a connected devices integrated pest management plan, I am your guy, because I can walk you through the entire process, and we can build a strong pest control program for your facility using connected devices. And speaking of which, this is one of my last ones. I know I'm going a little lengthy here, but I just wanted to show you a quick benefit of what this system did. So this was a food plant that we actually deployed 12 traps on the exterior because they noticed rodent pressure on the outside. And within a single month of these traps being deployed, we had already eliminated, I think it was somewhere just shy of 10. I think it was like 8 or 9 rodents off of the site. And we already built a heat map activity of where the activity was at the site. And so since our traps can be placed anywhere, we can actually collapse the traps around the more active places on the site, and we can actually make sure that we get on top of the rodent problem much quicker. Rodent populations can increase on a 3-week level. That's how fast these rodents can reproduce. So it's very important to, once you find out you have a problem, to move quick. And this is exactly what VLINK did at this facility. And in total, the entire time that we were there, we moved 22 rodents off the site. We found out that there were mice there. We found out that there were rats there, and we were able to eliminate, identify, and fix the problem much, much quicker. All right. That's all. Yep, that's all I had, but I'm still here.
Beautiful. All right, thank you, Mark. So we got a bunch of questions that are coming into the chat, so we're going to take those in maybe 1 to 2 minutes. I did want to bring in Brian from Parley Labs. So for those of you who are not new to the community, actually, Mark, if you want to kill your screen, I'm going to jump back over to mine real quick. For those of you who are not new to Helium, you're likely familiar with Parley. So Brian has been a long time operator. Sorry, let me see if I can get my screen share to work here. Brian and Parley Labs have built some fantastic distribution capabilities for the Helium community, and they partnered up here with the team. I think you're probably seeing a blank screen, so hold on a second. Are people seeing a Parley Labs slide? That would be a great success. Yeah, and take your silence as yes. So
yeah.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So Brian, if you want to just describe a bit more about what you guys are doing, take it away.
Yeah, so Parley Labs really was built out of the community, and our goal is to reduce the friction to build, use, and develop on the network. And so when we got approached with this opportunity, there's really 2 things. Provisioning this devices on the network, we saw that not everybody is familiar with what that is and how to use consoles and data credits. So we decided to, hey, maybe we can reduce that friction to those people who are not familiar with it. And provisioning is just onboarding the IoT device onto the Helium network and providing a data credit. Data credits allow users to transfer data back and forth on the network. And so if you're familiar with console, or you can go to the next screen, Mike.
Cool.
If you're familiar with the console and can figure those things out yourself, we do recommend you just do it yourself. It's you'll save some money, and it's a good experience. But there's people who aren't familiar with console and how to provision devices. So we provide the service to have these units onboarded. We cover the data credits for the life of the product, and just to make that user experience seamless. So you would get your account from Victor, and then just turn on the device and connect it to the app.
Very cool. And so you guys are supporting both traps, right? The 450 and the 460?
That's right. Yeah. So when you go to the site, you can click either one. And then when you click on each product, you can select which variation: self-provision, which is where you onboard the device yourself in console and pay for the data credits. Or there's the Parley lifetime provision, which we will provision it onto the console, provide a data credits, and ship it out to you. And so those are the two options when you make the purchase.
Cool. Okay, and we'll have this link. It's in chat, and actually, I'm going to switch back over to Mark's screen. Oh, if I could, Mark, if you want to just toss your last slide up there so we can do the Q&A. So we've got, I think, 5, 6, 7 questions that I'll pull from the Q&A. But I'm going to open one from myself, and we're going to bring in Ashley Brown, who's the Senior Director, Commercial Pest Control at Victor. Hey, Ashley, can you hear us?
I can. Hey, Mark. Hi, everyone.
Hey. Thanks for joining us.
Ashley.
And thank you for being active in the chat, by the way, answering questions all throughout this.
I know I didn't get to all of them, but.
Oh, that's why we do this here. So, so a question for you and a question for Mark. So when we've introduced, I think, Victor and VLINK to a new community, right? Consumers who might deploy a connected LoRaWAN-enabled trap, and that thrills me. But the bread and butter of your business is commercial installments. Mark just showed that case study with the sort of the food processing facility. Mm-hmm. So in those sort of deployments, what does the architecture look like? Are they like, walk us through how that happens? I know, like, they'll come in, you'll do a test, and they'll deploy 1, 2, 5, 100 traps. Mm-hmm. What do they see? Are they looking at something like Helium Console? Is it just looking at the VLINK app platform? What does and who's operating this from on the ground? Who's the main sort of consumer of this data?
Well, so there's really two ways we're going about that, right? So we have our traditional pest control operator customer base, okay, and those are folks that are coming out to your residence or your commercial facility, and they're providing lots of pest control services. So that industry is kind of wrapping their heads around where the digital transformation is taking things. So they're recognizing that there is a real benefit to not having to go around and check all of the devices that are deployed. If you imagine a warehouse that might have hundreds of devices, instead of going around and checking all of them, they're just checking a few, right? They're only going to the few that have notifications. But then you also have end use customers. So the customers kind of our pest control operators, right? Food plant manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies that may be doing their own pest control in some cases, or they fill in for the pest control operator when they're not on site. Those are the types of people that are seeing real immediate benefit to the time and labor savings, as well as they feel a better sense of control around a potential problem, and they can get right on an outbreak. And our software allows for a pest control operator to see into that account, as well as the people on the ground, so the maintenance manager or the owner of the business. And I think what's important for the folks of the Helium network or the Helium community is that these devices, sure, you can use them in your basement or your attic, but you can use them in your neighborhood, right? So depending on what your strategy is and how you're utilizing the Helium community and the Helium network, I think there's a lot of opportunity for those on this call to get creative with how they're deploying these devices. So in terms of how many traps we'll sell to a certain customer, it truly depends. I mean, it doesn't get much more custom than this. As we add new devices to the platform, like the Snap Trap and the others we have in development, it's just going to make that portfolio broader and give more options for different types of environments. We sell to one facility hundreds of traps, and we also sell, a dozen traps, right? So it really just all depends on the size and the need.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point about the Helium community specifically. So I imagine that a lot of you, I can see some of the names, so I know a lot of you on this call are out there building good, robust, large chunks of coverage. And this is a very non-obvious but very needed sort of sensing application that can show up, on the Helium network that provides a ton of value. I'm remembering a call that we did with the Victor team probably about 2 weeks ago, where we introduced them to a major European property manager, and we brought in a bunch of vendors to sort of pitch these guys on what to deploy on the Helium network, which they're putting out there. Mark, I remember the conversation where the CEO basically said, I had no idea that this was even a thing that people would care about. But at the end of the conversation, it was like, we obviously need to consider this for our buildings. So I think that's a really good point. Okay, so I did want to mention that the link to buy these traps is up on the screen here. So it's at shop.parleylabs URL there. And I think Brian's got both of the traps in stock. So let's take a few of questions. I think we probably have, let me look at my watch here. We'll probably run for another 6 or 7 minutes. So we won't push it too much longer because people need to get back to what they're doing during the day. So I saw John Nubian asked a few questions. I think he opened up with pricing. So let's talk about pricing. What's the V450 and the V460? What are the costs of those?
Yeah, so the 450 is $129.99 self-provisioned, and then the V460 is $139.99 self-provisioned. Essentially, the Parley provision is an additional 25 on top of each of them.
Got it. Okay, and then without getting too into details, question for Mark. I imagine for like larger bulk orders, you guys are happy to have discussions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so somehow I knew the answer to that was yes. I just wanted to ask it. Okay, so Jeff, I'm not going to be able to get your last name, Jeff. So Jeff W. So any cross wildlife checks in the device? I know technically chipmunks are rodents, but they are way cuter than rats and mice. Any comments there, Mark?
Yeah, so we did a lot of work of what goes into the VLINK Tunnel Trap. And what we did was, like I said earlier, we started with the rat and the mouse. And so what we did was we built in sensing technology to do our best to make sure that non-rodent targets don't actually trigger the trap. So there's a couple without getting too far into the weeds on this, there is some level that we try to make sure that we're not going to get non-targets, that no wildlife such as like a raccoon or a possum or a dog or even a small human is going to be able to stick their hand or paw into the trap without it with it going off. So there are some levels that we try to make sure that non-targets can go free, unlike any type of like a rodenticide or a snap trap. So.
Thank you. So Tom Luxek asked, and I think Ashley picked this up in chat, but we'll repeat it here so everyone can hear it. Can the tunnel be used for, or sorry, can the tunnel trap be used for mole tunnels?
Yeah. We've eliminated some moles in the VLINK tunnel before.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want to use it for moles, you can, but I don't know if I have a good attractant to put in the trap to help you keep your catches. But.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, because I had said it wouldn't be ideal. We definitely have, as an organization, other devices ideal for moles. At the end of the day, if you're going to put this trap outside, and we talked about chipmunks in the chat. Yes, they are cute, but they are very destructive. So I'd be lying if I said people weren't trying to go after them with devices like VLINK. But if you have a small rodent or rodent-like animal that will fit into the tunnel and they're curious enough, chances are they would be eliminated if they enter. But in order to do that, Mark walked through a lot of this, but they really have to fully commit to that trap and get all the way to the middle and trigger all 3 plates. So we have seen other rodents being dispatched outside of mice and rats.
Got it. Okay, so off-book usage for moles generally. Okay, let's see. We'll take a few more. Let me see where I was. So John Nubian, second question he asked, how long have these devices been using the Helium network? I'll take that one. We started working with the Victor team. I mean, it was almost a year ago at this point. Then we did a series of prototypes to make sure that we could, efficiently use the network, and we did a handful of larger pilots. So, we started the engagement probably 12 months ago. I would say we started putting people on the network using traps probably about 7 or 8 months ago. So it's been a while. Let's see. Can you detect if a device is in an unfunctional position, for example, covered or obstructed?
Well, if anything blocks the signal, and so the signal from the device can't reach your hotspot, you will get a notification on your app,
Right.
and you will see that, trap one at your house, all the different levels hasn't checked in, and so you know that there could be an issue.
Okay. Yeah. And like Mark said, you'll definitely get a notification, and then you hustle out to your trap and you see what's going on. Okay, so question from Joey: how are existing pest control operators adopting Helium? Are there resources to help existing businesses install and expand the network? So I think we touched on that a little before, Ashley, in that first response. But I mean, anything additional to say there?
So yeah, when we're deploying with our pest control operators, typically they're going to show up on site for a field trial or a deployment with a gateway in hand. Okay, so they're setting up the gateway on site. We do prefer to use, for most cases, cellular backhaul, just because oftentimes a commercial facility, they don't want us tapping into their network or their Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll show up with a Helium gateway, or whatever is appropriate for that location.
Got it. But I will say, so to clear, or I think you said it clearly enough, but cellular backhaul on the gateway to backhaul the data out of the Helium network. I would like to think on a pretty quick timeline, we'll start to see the ability to use public coverage for these in a lot of cases. I mean, if you look at cities like Chicago, for example, where there's some awesome coverage being built, New York, both of which I think have documented sort of mouse and rat problems in some places. I would like to think that we could start selling directly, or you could start selling directly into those cities, and just know that the coverage map is going to be real for you.
Absolutely. I mean, we look forward to that, and when Mark is actively selling, I mean, that's the first thing he's doing, right? He's checking to see what kind of public network is already deployed in that area, because that's ideal. The only time where that can get tricky is when you're deploying in, the deep dark corners of a commercial facility that that public network might not be reaching, but we have seen success doing that. So, and it's becoming, more increasingly possible.
Yeah, I mean, we anticipate it getting a lot easier. It's already in a good state now. Okay, so a few more and we'll call it quits here. So let's see here. So Karthik was asking, will the rat traps also trigger for a mouse? I imagine yes is the answer.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Mark said this at the beginning, but AP was asking, is there an 868, so EU 868 version available? The answer to that one is yes as well. So you can buy one of these for the 868 band in the EU and in the UK, I guess, and the United States 915. Do you have any other models I don't know about? Anything outside of the UK and the US? Or sorry, yeah, EU and US?
Nope, just
No, not at this point.
868 and 915. Got
it. Okay. I think that's about it. Let's see. So Brian made a mention that if you've already ordered a trap, that they're going to be shipping this week, and we've had a lot of orders since we launched this thing a handful of weeks ago. So Richard was asking, with the poison traps, so not these, the rats, mice don't stay in the trap. I'm not entirely understanding that. Maybe you know that, Mark.
No, they don't, and that is actually the problem with the rodenticide. So the rodent actually consumes it, and then they just go wherever. But the problem is that they've ingested poison, and then if something else comes in, it comes into a secondary poisoning issue. So the best way to get around that is to go with a VLINK trap, where it's going to not only eliminate it, but also keep it there and also keep it hidden, because that way, it's just as unappealing to see a dead rat laying in the middle of the parking lot as it is in a snap trap. But with a tunnel trap, you're going to be completely hidden and discreet from anybody seeing it.
Got it. Okay, so that question did make sense. I just didn't understand it. Thanks, Mark. Okay, two more questions and we're going to call it. So Christian asked if you give bulk discounts or discounts on bulk orders. The answer is yes. And then a question from MB at the end: if the Helium hotspot is next to me, will the traps connect with the hotspot? Likely they will. Sometimes RF and wireless is a little bit finicky, and they might connect to a hotspot that's like 2 or 3 miles away, and you'll scratch your head and wonder why your antenna isn't significant enough. But it will connect to a hotspot in range, likely the closest one, but it might not be the one right next to you. Okay, so anything else, Mark, Ashley, you want to say, Brian, before we call it quits here?
Nope, I'm good.
Nope. If anybody has any further questions, I'm here. My info's up on the screen. I love talking about this stuff, and I look forward to talking more about it.
Yeah, excellent. And then, right, so Mark's email is there, his phone number is there, even his extension is there. That's very fancy. And then there's a link there to go and buy a trap at Parley if you want to test one out before you consider rolling out a handful of these. Maybe you've got some restaurants, or maybe you're trying to figure out how to pitch this to people who are providing coverage to you. And then Brian and the team at Parley are very active in Discord. So if you have questions about how this works or any other Parley products, come into Discord. I'm just mark@helium.com and always answering emails. So thanks everybody for coming. And thanks to Brian and Ashley and Mark. I really appreciate your time. We will talk to you all soon.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Everybody.